We've done some research and we've realized that majority of you people who are watching this are not subscribed to our channel. So press that button. Do it now. Hello and welcome back to our studio where we are sitting and you're not. My name is Teemu and to my left there's the guy.
Ho ho ho, it's the Teemu show.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not only your show? Okay, my name is Janne and I'm ready to talk Counter-Strike.
We're about to talk about Counter-Strike CSGO, Counter-Strike CSGO, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, CSGO Asia Championships 2019, where we had 8 teams battling for a prize pool of $500,000 US. The final were played yesterday around noon, our time here in Europe, where we live. We have our establishment here in Europe, in the middle of the Mediterranean, where it's sunny and nice, unlike in the north, where it's cold and miserable.
So, are we talking weather or Counter-Strike?
Counter-Strike.
All right, so
go!
It's fair to say that this tournament didn't play out the way we thought it would. If we start with there.
It's fair to say that. Also, honestly, I was actually a bit disappointed. The games were quite dull to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think, but it also kind of creates that situation where we have a lot of upsets. We end up with a playoff with, different matchups than we are expecting. So it kind of takes the hype off in a sense, right? When we have like Tyloo coming in as, the group winner, then it changes the dynamic.
No,
right?
no, the fact that Tyloo won the group is actually a good thing, but
yeah, I think
the games itself were just... Like, usually when a tournament is great, you remember these, like, flashy plays and, stuff like this. Okay. This tournament was kind of like, yep, they played 30 rounds of Counter-Strike and Team B won and, move on.
Okay, well, I can see where you're coming from, but I think there was a few...
Finland,
There was a few very good games, too. So I can understand what you're saying. But
maybe I missed some of the games, so maybe I watched the dull ones. But
possibly.
Obvious. But yeah, anyway, go.
Let's talk about Group A. So that's the one we already spoiled it. So Tyloo won that group, beating G2, then MIBR. So obviously very surprising, but they looked really good. There's nothing else to add. Like they were on point, they were on fire, and so this put G2 in a decider game against EG, which obviously a tough game, for your tournament life, but EG managed to win there, and well, G2...
As they should, to be honest.
Yeah, they should. I don't know, EG is a team that's been very up and down, but of course they came to the tournament as a favorite. I think there's no discussion about that, really. So they just edged out a spot in the playoff, but G2 out in Group A. Then we had Group B. Also ended up very interestingly, since we were actually watching the game, ENCE's first game against Vici Gaming, and it looked miserable. I mean, they were so close to losing the first map. They maybe should have lost it, but Vici Gaming crumbled, and well, ENCE won that map, then they won the second one.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say. It's very strange, because then they moved on to win their second game against Mousesports and won the group. So
it was, and then at the same time, Mouse, after losing to ENCE, they still secured their spot in the playoffs quite easily.
Yeah, I think it wasn't really... Vici Gaming and Vanguard didn't look very good, so...
No. And then, moving on towards the playoffs, we have the quarterfinals, basically, with Mousesports.
So we should probably say that. So this tournament obviously starts with 2 quarterfinals and then
semis
into the semis, because 2 teams go, or the group winners go straight to the semis. So.
Yeah. So the quarterfinals were Mousesports versus EG and MIBR versus Vanguard.
Yeah, it's pretty fair to say, actually, we have one really good quarterfinal and one quite bad one, no?
Yeah.
At least in my eyes.
And how does EG lose to Mousesports 2-0?
Honestly, I don't know, because EG is kind of a mystery to me. One tournament, they really look like the #1 team in the world. They look amazing, right? And then they have these types of games as well. So, I don't know. All credit to Mousesports. They played well, but seriously, EG didn't play they didn't play their A game, No. It's pretty obvious. But this EG team is very, how should I put it? they need to do something about this, because it's every second tournament they are the best in the world to like, are they even a top 10 team? Like, I don't know.
At the same time, well, then MIBR wins Avangard 2-1.
Yeah.
Then in the semis, Tyloo and Mousesports.
Did you watch this game?
No,
this was an amazing game, actually.
That's what I missed.
Yeah, it was really cool. So Tyloo ended up winning the first map, and then in the second map, they were up 15-8. I mean, it really looked like they were so done to go to the final. And then, well, Mousesports won 7 straight, took it to an overtime, and won it. And we went to map 3, and honestly, I thought like, okay, Tyloo now, they just crumbled, it's over. And still, in the third map, Dust 2, I think it was, it almost went to overtime again. It was 16-14 to Mousesports. I mean, that's one hell of a comeback.
Yeah.
So, okay, all credit again to Mousesports. That's good. But Tyloo should have just closed it out, They should have won 2-0.
Maybe that's where the Tyloo is kind of inexperienced when it comes to these.
I actually think so. Because it's the same thing with Vici Gaming. Vici Gaming has done this twice to ENCE, where they were really close to winning and then they just crumbled in the last few rounds. So I think this is an experience thing, and they really have a hard time to keep it together for a whole game against these.
And here's the when that okay, you're one round away from getting to the final. Maybe just the pressure builds too high, and
well, especially, I mean, maybe at first there's no pressure, but then when you start losing 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, it really looks like this happens a lot to the Asian teams. But I want to add here, I mean, since this tournament really showed that at least these two teams, I think even Vici Gaming, but especially Tyloo, of course, they really showed that they have improved. And they don't need much to be able to challenge, maybe not the top of the CS world, but, to become top 10 teams. They really have the potential to do that, but they need to work on these issues and probably get more experience just by playing more tournaments, of course, to begin with. But
yeah. And then the other semifinal was ENCE versus MIBR, where MIBR won Train against ENCE, and they lost 2-1 still.
Yeah, it's actually funny because, I mean, it really feels like if ENCE loses Train,
they're out.
They should be out.
Yeah.
But then again, MIBR, we've been talking about it the whole year.
They're shit.
Whoa. Sure, that's true. Now, but I think
compared to what they were, you can't at this hour we shouldn't really compare MIBR to what they were 2 years ago.
No, I don't think so.
We can't do that. It's a different lineup.
Yes, exactly. It's a different lineup and it's a totally different time. It's not the same team anymore. One big plus this tournament, I would like to say, for MIBR was that Fallen played really, really well. He was their only saving grace in the game against ENCE, but still they lost. So, but yeah.
Fallen is still Fallen, but it's not enough.
But talking about, I mean, it's quite fun to see ENCE actually rising up and do something good, because it's been miserable for, well, ever since the change.
We've given them quite a lot of shit, so it's time to give them some positivity here.
I mean, you can say what you want, or, I'm bringing it up all the time, like these wins aren't that impressive, and maybe they aren't in the big picture, It's not winning against Astralis or something like that, but it's still a very good sign. They are winning games.
Yeah, and they're winning series.
Yeah, so that's great. Yeah. So we have Mousesports ENCE in the final.
Yeah, and in the final we started with ENCE's map pick, which was Train.
Yeah,
as per usual.
I want to add this. It's good that they have at least one strong pick in Train, but it's still very dangerous when you have that one map. If you rely on, basically, right now, ENCE are, before they had at least a few, but I feel like right now, their only pick is Train. And a good opponent, when they know you're going to pick Train, you're going to have problems,
The thing is, ENCE lost Train to MIBR in the semis.
Yeah.
They lost Train in the final against Mousesports. And from what we've used to see with ENCE when it comes to Train is that they've been dominant. No matter whether T or CT, true. They've been dominating.
Yeah.
And now they lost 16-10. They never got a proper grip on the first map, in my opinion.
No,
they had times when they got a couple good rounds in a row, things were looking fine, but then it collapsed again. Yeah. And Mousesports too, they were leading all the time. ENCE
the thing is this, right? ENCE's CT side on Train used to be really, really strong. And this time around, even in this game, I think they won 6 rounds as T, which is fine. If you have a strong
It's more
CT
than
side,
enough.
yeah. But then they crumbled completely. Like they didn't show anything on the CT side, in my opinion. And honestly, I'm starting to sympathize more with the people who talked about ENCE being good because of the orgs and stuff. And I really feel like yeah, that's actually quite true. They used to be very strong when their weapon was totally broken, and they utilized it very well. I mean, there's no shame in that. Other people, every team could use the weapon,
Yeah.
So there's no shame in that. But it really feels like that hurt them a lot, like more than I even wanted to accept in the beginning.
Fair.
Also, I really want to add here, Voxic and Frozen were amazing on this.
They were quite online on both
And I
of the games.
really, this is what I love with Mousesports. I love and hate, actually, because when these players are, on fire, they are so good. Voxic is absolutely amazing when he's on fire, so is Frozen, and Rops he's more of a stable player than those two, I think, but he also has peaks that are at least as high, so
yeah.
Fun to see.
Then the second map was Inferno, as expected, which Mousesports plays a lot.
Yeah, I think, any team, it doesn't matter if you're not even good on Inferno. You should pick it against ENCE because they are not good on Inferno. That's my honest opinion.
The thing is, so Mousesports went and won 2-0 with 16-11 score on Inferno.
Yeah.
And the 16-11, I don't think it gives a proper view of the game because the Inferno was really one-sided, even though ENCE got 11 rounds.
Yeah, I agree. Numbers, a lot of times they can lie. A game that is 16-10 or 16-11 can be close, and it can be not close at all. And this was one of those. It was very clear that Mousesports were just a stronger team. So,
in the two maps, none of the ENCE players were actually on plus.
Yeah.
And the best KD was on X7 out of all the players, and he's -3. Sunny's -8, Allu -9, Ariel -13, and Sergey -10.
Yeah, that's not the way ENCE can win games.
No, and at the same time, Frozen and Voxic are on +20, and all of them are ADR over 1.
Yeah. No, it wasn't even close. But then again, well, I'm happy because I was kind of predicting Mousesports to win, or I said Mousesports was going to win the tournament, right? Yep. So I'm happy about that. Also, just happy to see Mousesports performing this good because they have shown glimpses of it before. It's a little bit too shaky. It's kind of like, it's a little bit like EG, but not, the peak is not as high.
Yeah.
They're not a number one team in the world, but EG can be kind of that thing. So, but still, and ENCE obviously good sign for them. So
it's fantastic to see ENCE picking up series.
Yep.
Getting to the final, it's a big confidence boost for the boys for sure. And that's something to build on because now we're actually this is, in every way, this is a very positive result for ENCE. Now we're finally seeing the guys are back on track. They played a couple really good series. They won series. They get to the final, even though the final was a bit of a lackluster in the sense. They weren't there for the final, but now they have something to build on. This is actually a good thing, and I'm really looking forward for the next event because I hope they can build on this and continue on this path.
Honestly, I think this, might act as a motivation boost, but also a little bit give them, it might give them some space to work,
Yeah.
They've been under fire since all the change happened. So, and also we have a lot of things going on the rest of the year, so there will be a lot of tournaments for a lot of these teams to show more.
We actually have, this is the rest of the year Counter-Strike calendar that we have. Is that ECS Season 8 in Arlington, USA. So we have Astralis, Liquid, NIP, Fnatic, EG, MIBR, Avangard, and Sharks.
Yeah, this is an amazing tournament. There's nothing else to add. This is as good as it gets pretty much right now. We have Astralis, Liquid, EG. I think it's the only 3 teams we can have as contenders for number 1 right now. Yeah. So that's going to be super interesting to see.
NIP and Fnatic has been good, so it's good to have them there too.
I really think both of them have been so much better than I expected. So that's going to be great. I honestly believe both NIP and Fnatic can, I don't know how far I can go. They can honestly be a pretty solid top 5 team in the world, both of them. Because the contenders right now are shaky, like Navi and Vitality is shaky as well. So both of those teams, very good signs.
Yeah. Then we have the ESL Pro League finals with Mousesports, Astralis, FaZe, Fnatic, Navi, Vitality, and NIP, to name a few.
Yeah.
That's going to be a stacked tournament.
Yeah, again, great tournament, and it's going to be super fun to see this Mousesports go up against these teams that are a level above. Like Astralis, obviously, FaZe has been good lately, so it's going to be a very interesting tournament.
Then on the 13th of December, we have the Blast Throw Finals. Then 17th of December, we have an Epicenter. And 19th to 22nd, we have the Champions Cup in Malta, which unfortunately I will be in Finland and you will be in Sweden, so we'll miss it. But
sadly,
there's some quality Counter-Strike remaining in
Let's put it like this. It's quality Counter-Strike, but it's also a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, this is in 1 month we're going to have...
That's 5 tournaments.
5 pretty amazing tournaments, I would say.
Premier tier.
Yeah.
So that's it for Counter-Strike of today, I think.
That's it. You know, we'll be back with more Counter-Strike, obviously, with all of these tournaments being played. Maybe we'll even make a little bit of a ranking list over the whole year.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Maybe we might do that. Make sure to follow our social media channels, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.
Ciao.